Hey, you guys, this is Nina. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you to everybody that has been coming to my channel. Like this video, share this video, and hit that notification bell so you know when I drop my next one. We will be talking about this very, very huge hot topic today concerning Will and Jada. This has definitely left everybody scratching their heads concerning this couple. And this is just a complete whole mess. I'm definitely um I'm definitely going to say that I really do hope that they work their issues out. However, I am also going to say I don't know what working their issues out would actually mean. There has been so many things dropped lately about this couple concerning them being separated, all of these things with Tupac. It's just been a lot. It's just literally been a lot. Um, and I really do feel more so bad for, Willow and Jaden, their kids, as well as his oldest son, because um I just feel like they're just getting caught up in this mess with them. And, I just wish that they would do better. So let's just kind of get into the situation with Will and Jada and why a lot of people feel that Jada has been literally disrespecting him. I've had to make notes, y'all. I mean, this is a lot. I've been having to make notes. But I'm just going to start at the top. All right, so the first thing in my notes about this was that Jada talked a lot about, growing up in Baltimore, going to the Baltimore Performing School of Arts, and, her double life per se of trying to be a student there, as well as her, I guess, sad hustles. Um, just selling selling stuff on the streets to get by. Um I think her story I think her story is pretty much in line with a lot of, other teenagers growing up in the hood. I don't see anything wrong with that. Jada definitely seemed to be very open about her circumstances concerning her upbringing in Baltimore, how her basically her grandmother pretty much raised her more than her mother because her mother was heavily on substances herself and could not properly raise her. I definitely saw Jada was very, very affirmative and being truthful with this segment of the interview, talking about her early life. Now, I did want to play clips from the interview. However, I did not want to get my channel struck. So, if you guys get a chance to rewatch that interview that Jada just did with Hoda, one thing I did take notes on when she was discussing her early life. If you look at Jada's body language, and I literally circled that in my notes, her body language while she was talking about Tupac when they first met when she was a sophomore at the Baltimore Performing School of Arts. Her body language at this point, talking about Tupac, I mean, you can definitely see the love in her face. I definitely noticed it. It looked like she was smiling very vibrantly. She seemed to really like kind of perk up in her seat excitedly. You can definitely tell that there was definitely a lot of body language where, you know, she was basically into talking about Tupac. And she also did discuss that they kissed in shortly after they met. I think a few weeks went by, if I wrote these notes correctly. Jada also talked about her early life, her other hardships, going to school, working, and then selling substances, specifically the crack substance. And you know how she just grew up in Baltimore. I mean, she seemed to be very truthful about this part. I definitely felt there was little to no deception on her end on this part. Then she discussed, how much she enjoyed doing the theater at her high school. And she also went to college a little bit. Actually, I did not know that about her. She did go to college for a short bit, dropped out, and then decided to go out to LA. Now, in LA at this time, she was working several jobs, just like a lot of people in LA do when they're first trying to, I guess, break into the industry. And then this is when she met Keenan Ivory Waynes. Back then, he was in very high demand for comedy. He had the show in Living Color, and Keenan Ivory Waynes took a liking to her, and she used his agent to start to get parts. And that's when she was in Different World at age of 19. Now, when she turned 19, I'm sorry, when she was age 19 and got on Different Strokes, that is when her um, status in Hollywood started to lift. She started to get noticed for more and more parts and caught the eye of Will Smith at this time. Now, see, this is actually where my commentary is going to start to get a little bit more real. Will Smith was married to Cherie back then, and they did just have a baby at that time. Um, it seemed like she did gloss over a little bit of her role in Will Smith catching her eye. However, there's been several interviews throughout the years, even when I believe Sheree was actually on the Red Table Talk. I only caught clips of that Red Table Talk, but I do believe she was on there. And, they did discuss, um, trying to be a large collective family, even though they did not see eye to eye at first. I can definitely understand that. Having to deal with a woman that you feel pretty much, um, brought down your relationship because, Will Smith was apparently, had more of an eye for Jada instead of Sheree. Now, is this his later karma? I mean, that's for anybody else's guess. Me personally, I always feel like how you meet someone is how you end up. I do feel with all certainty that um her I mean, she's saying that she didn't come in between the relationship, but like I said, I've actually seen interviews that was previously done where, the cast of Different World would hang out. Will would come by the studio. There's been times where, they all hung out, and as a group. And I do remember hearing stories about how Jada and Will would literally be at these like parties and stuff like that, and they would kick it all night and talk with the big crowd. But anyway, they ended up hooking up, and they've been together ever since. And this is another part of that interview I do feel like it was glossed over because she had met Will Smith. I believe it was like, it was in the early 90s. She had met Will Smith. Allegedly, there was like a 4-year gap where they were not together, if you read into what she said to Hoda carefully. But at this time, Tupac was with Khadija Jones, I believe, as well as some other women. His star was pretty much, lifting off. And as much as she talked about Tupac during this interview, more so in more of a loving light, in my own opinion, versus her own husbands. Um, her and Tupac, I guess, was never together, and he was with another woman when he passed in '96, and she was already with Will Smith. Um, I've always wondered why Jada and Tupac, during that 4 year time when she was in LA, why her and Tupac never really hooked up and tried to have a relationship. As much as she talk about him now, this 4 year gap with her and Tupac has always kind of been questioned to me because, it's fine and dandy that, I do understand they were friends from high school. They knew each other for about 10 years up until, his passing. But to talk about this man so much, you would swear that he was her baby daddy. But I'm just being a little messy at this point because, like I said, this relationship or non relationship or just a strong friendship has always been a point of contention to how people discussed how Jada treats Will in their marriage. All right, let me turn the page. I got even more notes. So yeah, they tied the knot. Talking about Will and Jada. New Year's Eve of I believe '97, and um, their star. He had a lot of acting roles at this time in the late '90s. I really love Independence Day. I love the first Bad Boys. I actually remember going to the movies to go. Um, I remember going to the movies to go see the first Bad Boys and Independence Day when they dropped in the '90s. And actually, I absolutely love those movies. Um, and she also had, she was in The Matrix. She was in Set It Off. Like, I remember seeing all these movies in the '90s. I really loved them. And, it seems like later in her career, after having her kids, it seems like either she lost her direction or maybe because Will Smith's status had rose so much where maybe he was not at home as much. It seemed like it kind of took a toll on her. She talked about her depression. She talked about how she felt, as a woman and as a mother in her 30s and 40s. Definitely understandable. And, how it began to take a toll on her and how she had to turn to substances to get by in her teas, her substantive to get by, which helped pull her out of her depression. This is not too far off. I've heard of people having to, you know, get help to get through depression. So, I mean, nothing wrong with that. She also talked about self deletion in this interview. Um, Again, nothing too outlandish. Quite frankly, I did think that, again, this part of the interview was still very relevant and fresh for people to see that, just because you're in Hollywood and people look at you and, they feel you have it all, sometimes you really just don't have it all. So it was definitely refreshing to see that. Then, she was also in a heavy metal rock band for a while, and she did the Red Table Talk. Then it came to the famous August Alsina entanglement issue, 2016. Now, honestly, people are saying that this was really the thing that broke the marriage. However, I really do think things led up to this entanglement. There's been multiple rumors concerning her and Will Smith, which she did address. I do appreciate that she did address, things that they do in their bedtime as far as having extra people and same sex things, there was like a lot of things that she addressed it. Now, I'm not gonna lie, when I saw this part, I felt that the latter half of the interview with Hoda, I felt the latter half when she started actually specifically talking about her and Will going up into the August Alsina entanglement and private things that people always talked about with her and Will. I really do believe that when you got to that part, it became a lot more deceptive. I felt that once you get to that part, she was trying to carefully phrase a lot more things that she was discussing. I felt like she was just trying to give a more neutral based answer versus really indulging in a lot of the topics that really has dogged her family for so long. I also wrote in my notes that, and this is just a personal thing that I actually noticed, and I know that this is like a side note. Dwayne Martin and Tisha Campbell, whom always had been very close with the Smith family, and during 2016 is when they separated and all of their wild drama started becoming more public. Um, I don't know how that may actually correlate with what Jada and Will were going through, but definitely Tisha Campbell and Dwayne Martin were definitely going through a lot of stuff themselves in 2016, and a lot of their issues started to like really come to light more publicly as Tisha Campbell started talking more and more about what was going on with her and Dwayne Martin. Most people and myself has yet to really put all those pieces together, but I do feel that when Jada and Will say that uh, 2016 is kind of when they hit their issues and they started living separately, I do feel like the Martins had something to do with that in some way, shape, or form or the other. And there's been rumors about that too, but I'm not going to talk about that in this channel. But I don't have to because I don't have proof. But you guys are more than welcome to Google that yourselves. Sorry, I'm drinking my Sprite. So to get into other things, 2016 led them to separate and start living separate lives. And this is actually where it gets very dicey for the public because they are so public. They always seem to appear together and be happy, deceptively so. Now, it's fine if you want to live separate lives, but because of the way they appeared when you saw them together, it's very shocking for her to say that they were actually separated. And like I said, I'm only discussing this because they made it public. I do feel like, again, there's a lot more going on with this. I feel that they're finally getting these, I guess, truths out because, maybe they feel like, hey, I'm kind of done with this at this point, and they're finally letting these last few things go. Frankly, for me, they've stuck it out this long, but I just seem like it's more so of a red flag that Jada is so willing to put this out. I know a lot of people are saying that she's just trying to sell a book. Honestly, I feel like she's also trying to get ahead of something. And, I just feel like, I don't know, I just felt like something else is going on with the situation. It's just very odd that all of this information about Will and Jada being separated all of a sudden is dropping. I mean, this is just outside of the book. Because, like, okay, if they were separated since 2016, Will's book came out last year. How come Will didn't address this situation when his book came out last year? Why did Jada have to be the one to put this information out? It just make sense at this point, you know? Um Maybe it could be Will didn't put this information in his book because maybe he wasn't ready to just end it, or maybe this fallout with all of these public things are finally, their truth has to be put out at this point. There's only so much the people can take when dealing with this situation. And like I said before, they have all of the makings that people desire to have to be happy. They have kids that are healthy. They have a lot of money. They're actually a very nice looking couple. They are very successful when they, do their projects. It just seems like all of these things are just, in my own opinion, uh just going to the wayside. I think that Will Smith's career not only took a hit because of the incident with the Oscars, but because Jada cannot keep her mouth closed. And I'm not saying that Will Smith is the perfect angel, but most of the dirt that we got of Will Smith actually came from Jada running her mouth. Honestly. I mean, even if you just want to go back and look through like some of the stories, the negative press, a lot of it circles back to Jada. Now, if Will is or could be or have had women on the side, whatever he's been doing on the side, he's done a lot to keep very, very quiet, if that is the case. Because I'm not going to allege anything on my channel that I cannot prove to be true. But we do know that things Jada has done has basically, like, okay, people can actually say, okay, she was with August Alsina. He was 23. He was going through a lot of mental struggles. He was staying with them. She was in her 40s. The first thing people gonna say is that she was taking advantage of him. Then August went public. Then Will Smith went on that red table talk and did that conversation with Jada. And I thought that was a whole mess. Honestly, to have your husband out there being filmed, you got millions of people looking at this, where you have to admit, like, hey, yeah, I was having an entanglement, and he's sitting there, I cannot, I just cannot. So I'm looking at my notes from this interview that she just did, and like I said, they've been married for this long. I mean, half of me is like, okay, y'all work this out, but just do it privately. Either y'all gonna actually be together or not. But at this point, just move and do it quietly. It's like she's turned the status of what Will Smith built into a janky reality show. This really is starting to look like a housewives reality show. And I think that Will Smith should not be belittled and put to a reality show status. But literally, she's turned this into a lifetime movie. And it's just sad to me. Now, like I said, yes, they have been married. Yes, they've tried to stay together. Yes, they've been through a lot. But honestly, I felt like, 7 years of a separation. And at this point, it's just starting to be like, okay, what are we going to do for our brand versus what are we going to do to stay in love with each other, is what I'm getting out of this situation. And it pains me to say that because, you know, people like us, we work all day. We like to be entertained with our movies. We have those like go to people that we always like love. Like, I love watching Will Smith movies. I love watching Jada Pinkett Smith when she's in the movie. I know it's gonna be good. I know I'm gonna be excited. I know it's gonna be my takeaway. But if we have to keep hearing about the negativity and the relationships on the side and the August Alsinas, and then you got Will Smith, um, doing what he did at the Oscars to defend Jada. It just brings the entire it just brings down the entire aura of being, you know, a celebrity, in my opinion. It brings down the entire celebrity. And I don't know, I just I just kind of felt that I know Jada is doing her book tour. I know a lot of people are blaming her for a lot of things that went wrong in this situation. Uh and honestly, that's because Will Smith does not publicly put out specific things about their relationship that would cause the amount of negativity that Jada has put out about their relationship, if that makes any sense. So I don't know where this is going to be looking a few months from now, a few years from now. At this point, I'm just going to pray. I'm just going to pray for them. But my takeaway from this is I don't know. This actually may be headed for divorce. Uh, I pray that it won't because it seemed like they've been through so much. However, it is what it is at this point. They're living separately and have been living separately. And you can't tell me that they've been separated for 7 years and Will Smith ain't seeing somebody. I mean, come on. I would just have a hard time believing that. So, like I said, she put this information out, and I guess we just gonna have to wait until the other shoe drops. I really feel bad about this whole situation, seeing how this is unfolding. And I don't know, you guys. Leave your commentary below. I definitely want to know how you guys feel about this whole situation because this whole situation is a mess. Let me look back through my notes just to see if I missed anything with this interview. Okay, I think the last part in my notes concerning this interview goes to the Oscars Paw incident seen around the world. And this is probably the last part I want to touch on. This is like it was like a little confusing to me the way that Jada described it to Hoda during the interview. She said that she did not have a really good view of what happened because when Will Smith walked on the stage, he blocked her view. She thought it was a skit once she kind of figured out that, okay, Will Smith actually did get up and do this. And she seemed to kind of turn the blame on him during this segment. In my notes, I wrote down that I could not believe that Jada kind of threw him under the bus. Um, Looking at that whole situation holistically, yes, it was shocking. And yes, it seemed like Chris and Will have had issues that maybe the public was not privy to before. And it did seem like whatever XYZ point got hit that night, Will Smith was at his breaking point and did go to that stage to basically uh air his grievances. And it did seem like he did do that to defend Jada. I think that that really is the reasoning that I could take out of what happened on that stage, Oscars night. But the way that Jada uh, explained it, she seemed to not take Will's side. And that actually, I kind of cringed at that part. Will Smith literally has thrown his career away to defend you. The way she worded it in this interview, it was like, oh my God, he got up and did that. Oh crap, I can't believe that this happened. And then she went into, oh, he called me his wife when he was still yelling at him when he went back and sat down and said, keep my wife's name out your blankety blank mouth. And Jada said to Hoda, oh, I can't believe he called me his wife. We were already separated. I mean, seriously, is that the response that I was actually more shocked that Jada actually worded it like that. I mean, honestly, what I think would have came off better, in my opinion, if she said, yeah, Chris and my husband, they have had things going on in the past off camera, and then that joke that night just did not sit well with him. Then there was some other stuff going on right before we got to the Oscars, and Will flipped out and got up on that stage because he felt like he had to defend me. I think she should have tried to leave it per se at that. It seemed like she tried to remove herself from any involvement in the Oscar incident, which was sad again because Will Smith literally, I mean, his career has, let's just say it, his career has actually taken a fall since that happened. He did it for her, period. Ain't no way to spin it. You know, his career has taken a fall. And he did it for her. And regardless to if she wants to come out and say that they were separated and however she wants to word it, the fact is he did do that. I mean, be it that you agree with it or not, at that time being inappropriate, he did it for her because he loved her that much. Or for whatever reason was going on behind the scenes that we still really don't have the full picture for. At this point, I just wish that they would just come out and, tie up the loose ends and just say, okay, this was going on and that was going on and this is why that happened. I mean, at this point, they done told all the other business. They might as well tell us. I mean, there's nothing else they can do to shock us, you know, um, at this point. So just put everything else on the table. So, in a nutshell, that's pretty much all the notes that I got for this. Um, I probably might get the book from the library. I'm probably not going to buy it. I'll just probably just get it from the library and read it. I'm probably not going to just run out to the bookstore to buy the book. Or I might try to download the audio book because the library, lets you download the audio book just to, just read it a little bit. I think I'm also going to read Will's and compare the two. I'll definitely admit I did not read Will's book, but actually, now that they both got books, I think I'm probably going to read both of the books. So that's probably one thing I'll definitely do is read Will's book and then read Jada's book from the library. Um, but that interview with Hoda, just to sum this up, um, I didn't really learn as much that I thought I would. I thought she would probably get more into more juicier parts. I do feel like she tried to, you know, distance herself from a lot of the negative drama, kind of throwing Will under the bus in some cases. I felt like she overly romanticized her involvement with Tupac. And, that was pretty much it. I was neither here nor there with this interview. Um, but it made for a good hour of TV and it keeps them in the news. And it was a mess. So that's basically it, you guys. I don't have anything else to share. I appreciate everybody that dropped in. Please leave a like on the video. Share your comments below. And I will be dropping more content as the week goes on. Totally appreciate and love all of you guys for stopping by. Again, share your comments respectfully. And I have a don't forget the Drew Dress Show. Sentencing is October 24th, and I will definitely be putting out several recordings about how that comes out in court. Until next time, you guys be safe, like, share, and subscribe. Till next time, bye guys.